My name is Anne Carney, and I am on the Resource Exchange Committee with Aphasia Access. And on behalf of all of our Resource Exchange Committee members, I'm excited to introduce Miranda Babiak, who is going to be moderating this panel today. I would like to just make one or two announcements. First and foremost, an enormous thank you to Cognitive Concierge for supporting this program. And also, I'd just like to remind everyone or alert you for the first time if you haven't seen it, we have a resource of the month that we where we feature different resources in support of our clients and family members and care partners with aphasia. And for the November resource of the month, we would like to highlight a holiday guide, basically any items made by people with aphasia or in support of individuals or centers serving people and care partners. So please do look out for that announcement, and please submit your entries to be included in that holiday guide. So I'm going to turn it over to Miranda Babiak now, who will introduce our wonderful lineup for today. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you, Anne, and thanks everyone for being here. So we have 4 wonderful presenters today, and I will go ahead, and these are just short presentations, just about 5 minutes, with 5 minutes of questions afterwards. And with that, I'll go ahead and introduce our first speaker to kick us off. This is Orly Shay, who will be talking to us about Let Your Body Speak, communication through the body for persons with aphasia. Orly, over to you.
Thank you, Miranda. So I'll share my screen. Just let me know that you can see it. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm very, very happy and excited to be here, to be part of this panel. Thank you for having us with you. And to present a group that is initiated in the Adler Aphasia Center in Jerusalem, a communication through the body group for people with aphasia. It is facilitated by me and Mor Kachta. We are both SLPs, and I'm also a dance movement therapist. And we're supervised by Daphna Olenik, which is that she is the director of the Adler Aphasia Center in Jerusalem. Okay, so the rationale for initiating this group was my experience as a dancer, as a movement therapist, of knowing how much communication we have through movement. I think everyone that in this panel might think the same. Orly Shay said that movement is a way of communication that fulfills a basic human need. Movement enables a person to be understood and to be a part of a couple or a group. Also, there are researchers that says that 70% of our communication is nonverbal. So we initiated this group 5 years ago with 4 to 5 men with moderate to severe aphasia, all of them with some degree of hemiparesis in the chronic stage of their aphasia. And we had 2 goals. We wanted to develop body awareness and the possibility to develop the possibility of nonverbal communication, and to empower the group members as we were focusing on an activity that doesn't require language. What we did, how we did it. So practically, we had a strict setting. Each session we were starting with, how do I feel today? Each one said from 1 to 10 scale, and did a movement or posture about it. Then we did a warm-up, first guided by me and Mor, and then independently guided by the group members. I'm saying, and then like when the group grew up a bit. And after that, we did a body exploration exercise each week and summarized it by a short discussion. I did here a list of different body expression exercises. It will be sent to you. I won't read it, but we had different exercises and games, and maybe you could use it if you want. We saw that we had 4 different processes in our group. The first one was moving from developing each one's body awareness to develop awareness to the body of others in the group. And finally, to develop the communication between all these bodies in the group. Another process was moving from concrete movements, like having an object and having to, in different ways, showing it by movement, moving to an abstract and creative expression, including improvisation, free improvisation. Another process was moving from guided movements to independent movements, guided by us, the facilitators, to independent by the group members. Here we can see some of the members, actually me and Moore were late for 5 minutes to the session, and they just started the session without us. And the last process we were doing, first we moved within the group, and then we moved outside the group. Here we can see pictures from the end of the year party of the Adler Aphasia Center, and our group members actually led the whole members of the Adler Aphasia Center to move together. So the achievements we saw in this group, we all know that people with aphasia has a challenge to communicate and challenge to express themselves fully and show their identity fully because of their aphasia. And we saw that through movement, through participating in this group, our members could more easily have abstract expression by movement, creative expression, to enjoy communication, which is usually frustrated with words when you have aphasia, and through movement and through body expression, it was much more easy and light and joyful. Also, we saw that in the identity part, we could empower their ability to lead again each other with movements with their body. And humor, there was a lot of humor in our group. A person that has a lot of sense of humor doesn't have to tell a joke with words, as he has aphasia, which is hard, but through movement it's much more easy. And showing our mood. Join the meeting. Showing our mood to each other. And another joyful thing that we saw, that we could actually enjoy our body, even though all of them had some kind of hemiparesis, we could see what they can do with their bodies. So some pictures to the end. This is how they answered when we asked them, how do I feel in the group? When we explored heavy movements, heavy quality in the body, or light quality in the body. So that was the heavy one. And this is the light one. Quality like straight versus round movements. As you see, a lot of laugh here. And exploring how it is for me to lead again, and how it is for me to being led without words. And this is just a picture I really like. Thank you for listening.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Orly, for leading us off with that wonderful presentation. Perhaps I'm speaking personally here, but I feel like movement can be something that people can be self-conscious about, and maybe feel a little shy at first. Could you tell us a little bit about the growth of the participants in that aspect, especially to then by the point where they got to leading others in movement?
Especially the point of,
where at the end they led that larger group in movement. I think you said okay. The year celebration, which puts them on the stage then too.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, actually, you are right. Movement is not something that easy for most people. Even in our team, so the speech therapist team, Daphna, which she's here and she can assure that, every time we're trying to do an exercise with movement, like everyone, like, no, just not that. Stop with your nonsense movement thing. We started first, the group members were open to try, but at the beginning, we did really things that are much more structured and much more concrete and more safe. We didn't like ask them at the beginning, yeah, let's improvise. Like it's only now, 5 years later. But at the beginning, it was really in small amount of daring things. Slowly, we did it from concrete to abstract. As I was saying, the concrete really feels much more safe for people. So we did a lot of concrete things and simple as it to complex. Yeah, sorry.
Right. So yeah, sounds like you really thought about that ahead of time and built that into the progression then of even the movements that you did over time with the group.
Yeah, and also
I want to add
center.
something. And can I add only? I said that when we were thinking about how to call the group, we wanted to call it a movement group, but we understand that nobody maybe is going to come to a movement group. So we decided to call it communication by movement. The name was very concrete. Me and Orly wanted it to become improvisation, but we knew it's going to be a long process. So, and we didn't, both of us didn't believe that if to take men 60, 70 years old, some of them are religious, and to make these processes, we were like, we're going to try. But it was really a slow process.
Yeah, thank you for that great explanation of that question, because yeah, that would be one of the first things that I could understand wanting to take account for. We do have two questions in the chat. One asked, were any of the members limited to wheelchairs for their mobility?
In our group, no. But now we opened a women group, which most of them are in wheelchair, and it's also possible.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
In different ways, but it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I always wish we had so much more time to even elaborate on something like that. To wrap up for the final question, though, related to this, you had talked about having a check-in with the mood rating scale, and then did a posture or a movement. Could you explain that movement piece that's associated to the check-in a little bit more?
I can give you an example. For example, I feel now 9, and I feel like that.
Okay.
She's like excited,
yeah,
or something like that. So this is a movement, yeah. It doesn't need it's not a ballet movement. It's just a movement.
Yeah.
That expresses something in how I feel.
Yeah.
And also that at the beginning is not that easy for people. We didn't start it really like that at the beginning.
Yeah.
First, it was just 1 to 10 scale.
Yeah. I think probably, okay. So that piece, the movement attached to the scale was done later on in the process.
Yeah, not at the beginning. Yeah.
All right. Well, great. I think that is perfectly kind of within our time frame. So thank you so much once again for kicking us off and for joining from the Adler Center in Jerusalem. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Sure thing. Okay. Our second speaker for today is Carol Dow-Richards, who the title of her talk is Let's Dance for People with Aphasia. Carol, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get my slides ready. So let me share my screen. Okay. Did y'all see it?
I think for some reason it's showing up a little off-centered. It might look like it's trying to share with 2 screens, if I had to guess.
You see it now?
That looks great.
Okay, perfect. All right, so Aphasia Dance Between Words is a program by the Aphasia Recovery Connection. Dance has unique potential for stroke rehabilitation. Dance is not just a form of exercise, but also helpful for neuroplastic change. And right now, I'd love to have you meet our teacher from Poland.
Affects the way we think and feel about ourselves and the world around. It allows us to see things from a different perspective and to shift our perception of the world. Dance is a discipline for dealing with self. And my task as a dance educator is to create that space where creative processes can take place. We share and connect through dance. And that's most wonderful experience.
Oops. So what is it? Dance Between Words is based on a Montessori approach to creative dance that emphasizes independence, freedom within limits, and respect for psychological, physical, and social needs. Who is it for? People with aphasia, couples, groups, and aphasia centers. No standing or speech is required. So why dance? Dance integrates 3 levels of awareness: physical, mental, and emotional, develops body control, balance, and confidence, stimulates cognitive abilities and memory, encourages creativity, expresses emotions, and I think most importantly, develops social connections. In their own words, people with aphasia love music, emotion, encouragement, strong, connection. Thumbs up from Scotland, aphasia family. I used to dance, now again. Good, I love it, beautiful, and confident. So next up, I'm going to ask you to join us in a dance and experience the impact of dance firsthand. You can follow along and paint a rainbow. You're painting the sky. Making some hands. Now we hug ourselves. Get ready for a big finish. And now if you watch Juana, she's gonna wipe a tear away.
Thank you very, very much. It's wonderful.
Super job, everybody, super job. So the next question is, how can you join a dance class? We meet every Tuesday, 2:00 Eastern Standard Time on the same Zoom link every week, and it's free for people with aphasia groups, aphasia centers. And this is the handout, so you'll be able to invite other people to join us. So there's a lot of research about dance and how it can rebuild neural pathways. We're not going to spend the time on these next slides. However, if you would like these slides, you will be able to get them. So this shares some of the research, which is really awesome. So I hope you join Kasha and I every Tuesday. Now, I'm going to thank Aphasia Access for their commitment to the LPAA model. Indeed, what a wonderful aphasia world. So now it's time for questions. So if you have questions for me, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Carol. You already, well, first of all, those were such lovely examples. I just really loved being able to see it truly in action. You had already answered one of the questions, which asked about when the classes take place. So 2 p.m. every Tuesday. And another question that came in asked if the movements are paired with speech, such as do you give verbal instructions throughout, or is there music involved, or is it totally silent so people can just sort of be in the moment?
Yeah, normally when we do that dance, usually the teacher is giving the instructions and we practice all of the pieces of the dance before we do the final dance every week. But she does use words. So for example, she'll have a little card and it might say small with small letters. And then she'll say, we're making small movements. And she shows them that word small. And then she'll have a bigger card with big letters and it'll say big movements. So now we're going big. So she's always using words to help enhance that dance experience. So yes, she's using words. And we always have music.
Okay.
I think music really helps create that emotion. And what I didn't share, and I don't know how many of you caught it, but Juana, who is the one right below the dance teacher, that was her first class. So she's following along. And at first she's following, she's not smiling much. And midway through, she's really getting into it. By the end, she's smiling really big. And at the very end, she wiped a tear from her eye. And I think that's the impact that dance can have. And I gotta say, this teacher contacted me and wanted to do dance. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was a really dumb idea. I did. I thought dance and people with aphasia, like, no, that's like, no. And it ended up, I was doing a virtual connection session and the speaker fell out of the spot. And so I told this dance teacher, okay, you can come in and chat with us on virtual connections. And I was blown away. So I was a naysayer, and I think a lot of people might be, but when you see the impact, it's magical. It's one of my favorite things all week is going to that dance class.
Yeah.
And I think it is for the people that attend too.
Yeah, that is really great. Do you know, you said the instructor reached out to you. Does she have a connection to aphasia, or how did she kind of decide to make that?
So she lives in Poland, and there is a nonprofit in Poland that reached out to her. She's a choreographer and dancer throughout Europe, and they hired her. She's been working with them for 5 years. And she reached out to me and said, I would love to do this in the United States. And so now she works with us. And I see Ellen said, does she work with virtual connections? And she does not do it on virtual connections. We do it on ARC. Okay. So virtual connections in La Graphica is Aphasia Recovery Connection in La Graphica have that program, but everyone works as a volunteer and people are not paid. We pay this dance teacher. Okay. So it is supported by our donors. Classes are free, but we do pay the teacher. So she's not on virtual connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that distinction and helping us to connect people then to know to go through ARC instead. Ellen had also asked, does the teacher also demonstrate how to adapt for those with hemiplegia?
She does. She does. And a lot of times she may be moving and standing, and I will do the motions. I usually do the motions on that one. I didn't, but usually when I'm joining the class, I do them seated with one hand. So everybody knows and that they feel comfortable. We even had somebody one time join us. They were in a hospital bed. They were like, I'm not going to miss. And they were literally like this. But at least they're moving. And it's not just the movement. And it goes back to what the Adler Aphasia Center in Jerusalem was saying. It's not just the movement, it's that social connection, it's the emotion, it's that whole person. And it really is magical.
Yeah.
Say I, who was a naysayer. I thought it was, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a convert.
Yeah, I think we could see, and that's why the examples were so great, because we could honestly see, I think, the impact that it has on people. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and what a great resource for people to be able to attend for free. So thank you.
Well, join us. Yeah, it's free. So anybody can join us. If you want to observe a session, just come and observe.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we are doing well here. We're moving on to our third presenter. So we'll ask Kayla Foraker to please join us to present on interdisciplinary collaboration for movement and language.
Wonderful. Hi, everybody. I'm about to pull up my slides. Wonderful. So my name is Kayla Foraker. I'm a speech pathologist with the Brooks Rehabilitation Aphasia Center in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I just wanted to kind of touch on just a really cool collaboration that we do with one of our local universities. Before I do that, though, a special thank you to Jody Morgan, who is our Aphasia Center manager and also a clinical assistant professor at Jacksonville University. And then also Dawn Saracino, who is a physical therapist. She's a board certified clinical specialist in neurologic physical therapy. She's also an instructor with the program at University of North Florida, who is the university that we partnered with. So the beginning of this happened probably a few years ago, and it started with contacting some of the different universities in our area. The University of North Florida in Jacksonville just happens to be the closest that also has a physical therapy program. They're probably located about half an hour from our center. And it really just started with not even the idea of having groups, but just the idea of how can we spread the word about aphasia and how can we advocate to other healthcare workers and teach them about aphasia, because we all know all of these different practices do work with our friends with aphasia. So just offering to guest lecture on aphasia and best communication practices, that's where this all kind of started, just introducing the idea of working together, developing relationships between the speech therapists, the physical therapists, the professors, and getting that relationship a little bit stronger. And then finally saying, hey, why don't we kind of bring this together so it can really benefit the physical therapy students and then also benefit our members with aphasia here at the center. A lot of our members with aphasia have had physical therapy in the past or are in need of physical therapy, but maybe don't have access to those resources. So we could maybe at least offer some type of group and the physical therapy students could get field work hours. So it would work out for both parties. So after a little bit of talk and getting in touch with our Brooks Rehabilitation Hospital, they had an official contract and approval between the university and then also our hospital company. So now the students could come into the center and perform groups. And so overview of how this works. So it's kind of morphed over time. Now there's a yearly guest lecture on aphasia in the neurologic physical therapy class, and it's about 4 hours worth of lecturing about what aphasia is and how to communicate. They also, the students that are placed at our center are given a specialized communication training at Brooks Rehab Aphasia Center. So they will come for the day and get about a 3-hour session on further communication tools. They also come and observe our community-based language groups run by speech pathologists. And then once they've done that, they will get to collaborate with our therapists and students on staff here to create aphasia-friendly physical therapy group sessions. These group sessions will target movement, balance, different exercises specifically tailored to them. And also we've had some other fun stuff thrown in as well. So these groups are about 1 hour long, 2 times per week. So typically we'll come on like a Monday and a Tuesday or a Wednesday or Friday or whatever works for their schedule. The groups typically run January through May, and that's just because that's the time of year where those students need that specific field work. The groups involved exercises, but also we incorporated some language, of course, whether it be counting the reps out loud together, discussing exercises, like, you know, what parts of the body are we working with, different things like that. And how are we feeling? Are we in pain? Do we need to take a break? But then also different other exercise activities that involved varied language tasks and general discussion as well. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I go to the gym, I do tend to just have those social conversations while I'm working out. We also had aphasia-friendly materials within groups. So our exercise instructions were all aphasia-friendly, lots of pictures and visuals, as well as aphasia-friendly pain exertion scales that we used. So everything was super easy, super accessible. So here's just a couple examples of different things that we used. We have, as you can see on the left, that's kind of our exertion scale. So typically throughout the session, they would have check-in times just to make sure that members were not overdoing it. And then if they were saying, oh, this is relaxing, this is a 1, maybe offering some modifications to get them kind of in that middle area, because that's where they usually wanted them to be. And then as you can see on the right, we have some different exercise pictures, and then just a simple phrase of what that actual exercise is. And what would be really cool is that the physical therapy students would usually also explain how this was benefiting them physically. And then also as a speech pathologist, if we were doing some type of language exercise, how that could benefit us as well. So those are some examples. And yeah, so here are some pictures of some of our members in action. This group actually, it's kind of flourished into other things. We found out a lot of our members really love dance. So we had some dance-led groups. We had some music infused with it at some point. And then you can see some of our members doing some exercises on the left. On the right, they actually started a little bit of dance as well. We're not professionals, but you know, we do our best. And so yeah, just some of our fun times where we've had really good interaction with our physical therapist. Our members have reported they really, really enjoy it. They feel like they're actually getting some exercise. A lot of them maybe are at home and not able to get out to the gym or go to some type of physical therapy. So this gives them a chance to get some exercise and movement in and have some fun. And thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kayla. It's fun to see how dance and movement, it reiterates the importance of it, that it kind of worked its way into
It really did.
into your group as well. But I also love to have this, you know, other profession, you know, also being brought in. And that's kind of where my first question is for you. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the physical therapy students shared about working with people with aphasia and that experience?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of our physical therapists came in never working with someone who had a stroke or a brain injury and maybe had a preconceived notion. For instance, I had one physical therapy student that came in and he was so ultra convinced he was going to go into orthopedics and sports and going to work with athletes. And he was doing this to get his hours, you know what I mean? But really found a passion for it. And I actually keep in touch, and he's a neurologic physical therapist today. So learning how to communicate and make connections at our aphasia center enabled him to go out and actually help other people with aphasia. And it makes me happy because we know he was trained to use some of these techniques that we use with our friends. So like we know here that he's out there using those same techniques. So those people are feeling heard and being able to communicate with their therapist effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And that, it makes me think too, this is such a good example of how something can morph. Like you said, it didn't start out with this in mind. And so I'm kind of curious though, if someone wants to start a similar group or do something like this, what do you think would be a good first step?
So how we started it here is we just reached out to local area. We started with the local universities. I think that would be the easiest because you could get students that can come in. So we had Dawn Saraceno, she would come in and observe. That way they could get fieldwork hours while they're doing this. But I think that's kind of your easiest bet because, students need their clinical hours in order to get their license. So I would just reach out, even like local colleges that, are working on that. If there's some in your area, that's what I would recommend if that's, an option.
Great, thanks. Ellen asked, is part of your PT student training does it include how to adapt materials to make them aphasia friendly?
Yes, actually part of it. So part of it when we do that initial specialized training is we talk a lot about what is aphasia friendly format for some of our materials. And so how is adding visuals, how is simplifying some of these exercises, how is that going to be helpful to members? So how to modify that. So, and what's nice is they've let us keep a lot of their materials as they've sent them to us to use. And they have to be approved by one of us as a staff member, just to make sure that they would be aphasia friendly. So part of it, and they have to make new stuff every week to couple weeks. So they definitely get practice in what it would be like to maybe create an aphasia friendly home exercise program or something like that.
Great. And last question, kind of, I always like to throw out or ask a question about what's one of the things that you've learned from this. Are there any, sort of lessons that you learned and incorporated along the way, maybe the more that's evolved over time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I've always known this, but it just kind of re-cements it in. But we are all so important in the recovery journey. It's all of us work together to really help our friends with aphasia to reach, their highest potential and get back to life, life participation. But I think what it also really kind of taught me is that language doesn't have to be in a quote unquote language group. Like, I can't tell you how many great conversations we had doing the exercise group that maybe weren't as structured as maybe a group typically could be, but it was still a lot of fun. And I even had some members say to me, it felt like I was, talking at the gym with my friends. You know what I'm saying? Which is one of the most normal things if you go to the gym. So it was really cool to see. And kind of a reminder.
Yeah, good. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed that presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. For our last presentation of the day, we have Antonella D'Annunzio.
Hi, everyone.
Antonella, good. And I will hand it over to you.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Does everyone see my screen okay? I'm Antonella. I'm a clinical program specialist at NYU Langone in Brooklyn. And today I just wanted to highlight some of the ways that we've begun integrating and collaborating with our physical therapy and occupational therapy program. And this really all came from, becoming versed in life participation and being a member of Aphasia Access, and just really seeing how the importance of contextualized treatment and activity-focused treatment over, more impairment focus and domain-specific treatments that maybe kind of were the main goals in the past, and just kind of realizing how we're more than speech pathologists to our patients with aphasia. A lot of the time, I'll hear, oh, you're more like my life coach. And I'm like, you know what, that's the best thing you can say, because just given our experience and our knowledge and our ability to advocate for our patients and expose them to all these amazing programs that we've heard from today, from dancing and just any other type of program that we feel would be appropriate. We really do provide just so much support that they really need. Okay, so from the Aphasia Institute and life participation and using the AFROM model, and just realizing that in considering a patient with aphasia, we need to look at their aphasia, what type of aphasia, how is it impacting their day-to-day, how is it impacting their participation in activities, and do some of those activities involve movement or other social activities? And what is their environment? How much support do they have to engage in different types of programs and different types of leisure activities, which is the main focus. And really tying together our ability to exercise or to move with our ability to communicate is really, really so important. And I think when we really tie it in, amazing things can happen. So one of the main things that I really, started doing and, educating patients on is talking to them about the benefits of exercise. And this applies to everyone and to patients with aphasia. So obviously talking about how exercise is so important to combating health conditions and diseases. So especially in patients who've had stroke, they should be partaking in some form of exercise. It can be helpful with battling depression, anxiety, and preventing cancer, helping patients manage diabetes and high blood pressure. It can help them psychologically with improving their mood, improving energy, promoting better sleep. That's actually one of the questions that I really ask all patients now is, how many hours of night do you sleep, right? Because if they're coming into me and they look tired, I know that that's going to impact their aphasia. It's going to impact their cognitive skills. I think about how do we feel when we get 4 hours of sleep? So really, digging deeper and, having a more holistic framework when we're assessing and treating our patients and really getting to know their day-to-day, because that's all of these simple things impact their overall well-being. And educating them that this can also help them with weight control, or even there's studies that improve sex life. And it's fun and it's social, right? And the social aspect is so important. As we know, social isolation is a significant concern in patients with aphasia. And just, even for patients who, may not have the best ambulation skills or mobility, even just, walking or going at their own pace or slow dancing, all of these things allows space for communication. So this is really a great educational resource that I share with patients from the CDC. And obviously this can be tailored, and there's so many different diagrams available online or that we can make using supported communication and tailoring it to the patient's needs, but providing education on the importance of exercise. And even within this, I've had such amazing results with patients and their word finding and working on just so many different goals that has an activity focus, that has some educational value, that has something that they can take with them. Because our time is so limited, right? Some patients are only coming for 45 minutes once a week, right? So whatever we're doing really should have a long-term benefit and something that they can take along with them. Educating them on the importance of exercise on mental health. So as we know, patients with aphasia frequently suffer from depression, anxiety, frustration, and there's a lot of barriers to receiving psychological help, especially with patients with aphasia. It's really hard to find psychologists that are trained in how to communicate with someone with aphasia and having, that knowledge and on how to extract important information on feelings and, very complicated thoughts and opinions when someone has a more severe aphasia. So sometimes, incorporating exercise can help them with reducing their stress or reducing their depression or improving their mood and improving self-esteem, improving sleep, improving their brain power, improving confidence. And, the more I read about this, I'm like, well, I really should be doing more exercise because it is kind of a cure-all for so many different issues. But again, just giving patients this information is so invaluable. And then educating them on different types of exercise that obviously is appropriate and tailored to them, you know, based on their motor restrictions or any other kind of, you know, issues that they may have. So there's aerobic exercises, which incorporates increased use of oxygen, such as walking, running, swimming, biking, or jumping rope, or anaerobic exercise, which is a little bit more intense, like weightlifting, plyometrics, high interval intensity training, which may or may not be appropriate depending on the patient's skills and any types of paresis or other issues that they may have. So according to guidelines, current guidelines for physical activity for healthy adults is a minimum of 30 minutes of moderate intensity. So that includes like brisk walking, aerobic exercises 5 days a week. So most of us are probably not, I know I'm not getting as much of that exercise. This made me rethink of what I can do. And also it's recommended that strength training twice a week for all muscle groups, and muscles should feel tired after about 12 to 15 repetitions. So asking, you know, patients, you know, what kind of exercises were they doing before their stroke, or, you know, before their injury, and what are their goals now, and helping them, you know, develop a plan for this. So there's substantial research that supports exercise in improving cognition. According to Hamish et al. In 2018, exercise would enhance aphasia treatment outcomes. There was partial support. So again, there's a lot of preliminary evidence emerging, but obviously a lot more needs to be done with good, you know, good methods. But this is definitely, I think, an emerging field as far as looking at what the evidence is behind it. And in another study by Erickson et al., after 1 year of exercising by walking at a pace sufficient to reach target heart rate, healthy older adults demonstrated increases in BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which we know is correlated with neuroplasticity and improving cell growth and improving more connections, more dendritic and axonal connections, and that was correlated with increased hippocampal volumes after exercise. So I think just sort of seeing physiologically how exercise can help patients' neuroplasticity and improve, I think this is really, really big. And I think this definitely can get buy-in as to why exercise can really benefit. Here in our clinic, I think one of the things that we've seen is a lot of our patients with aphasia, you know, some of them tend to be younger and are super active with, you know, minimal, well, it actually varies, but some with more minimal physical impairments have taken on boxing as a hobby that they're doing 5 days a week. Or one of my other patients goes to Tai Chi and does this about like 4 days a week. And actually we'll be training different stroke members next month at a stroke support group and helping teach other patients on Tai Chi. And we're going to be working on this together to help educate other patients on how they can incorporate Tai Chi into their day-to-day. And Tai Chi is great. It's great from a meditation and movement and deep breathing and relaxation perspective, and it's pretty slow paced. And it could obviously be adapted, you know, to different patients' motor skills. And even, you know, some of the steps, it's really great because it incorporates a lot of, you know, words like a crane spreading its wings or holding a balloon, and you do different gestures. And this particular patient was actually teaching me, and it was great to see how, you know, empowering this was to him to teach me something that he's very well versed in, right? So, you know, it's sort of, you know, opening up a workbook and having a patient follow just random directions is not the same as, you know, actually doing it in the context of Tai Chi or something that has more of an activity focus behind it. Okay, and then these are just some other interdisciplinary approaches. So we work together with physical therapy and occupational therapy and training them in supported communication. And again, as we talked, making things adaptable to patients with aphasia. And again, working hand in hand, incorporating dual task training, right? So having a communication and a motor task also has shown to promote neuroplasticity as different brain regions communicate with one another. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Antonella. There was a lot of really good information packed in there. So thank you. I think, let's see, I have a question here, and I think, probably in the interest of time, we'll ask a question or two and then try to get people out of here. So will the links to the handouts regarding the benefits of exercise be provided in the handout for this, for your talk?
It's in the
What link is
PowerPoint.
on your handout?
Is the PowerPoint provided to everyone or no?
We usually just post the one-page handout that people create.
Okay, I can include it. I can include it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, so it seems like there's some interest in potentially using some of those links to help facilitate interesting group conversation without even having to offer a specific class or so.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, because it really looks like you put a lot of work and effort into gathering resources and thinking about this thoroughly. One of the kind of final questions is, so yeah, what sort of outcomes have you found helpful from these types of groups or focusing on movement?
Yeah, so I think the most important outcome is patient reported, right? So what are they saying, right? How are they feeling going in? And, you know, are they reporting that they feel happier? Do they have more energy? Just overall like quality of life. So, you know, depending on the patient, we also use here, one of the outcomes that we do use here in patients that are in the hospital and then 3 months post is actually the stroke specific quality of life scale. So that is one of the things that we can look at. But there's different outcome measures. So I like the communication confidence rating scale for aphasia or the communicative effectiveness index to sort of see like, you know, do they feel like their communication has improved, or even one of the things that I think we can really start implementing more is, I mean, we can't diagnose depression, but we can like screen for it. So I think even just looking at some more outcome measures like that. And also I think collaborating a lot with physical therapy on, you know, what movement outcome measures are they using, like the 6-minute walk test or different things that can maybe show, you know, a number increase. But I think, you know, overall it's, you know, patient-centered. What is the patient reporting? Are they more confident? Did they make new friends? Do they have a routine now? And that's something that we can really work on. And in my resource handout, I included like the SMART framework, because, you know, as we are life coaches, we're helping patients like kind of have that accountability to execute a program and really monitor and hold them accountable, because we know that, yeah, do this 3 times a week, it's not getting done, right? But kind of teaching them small incremental steps so that they can achieve that, and building up their confidence is so important. And in particular, I had one patient who has a pretty severe aphasia, but, you know, he started incorporating photography with his walks, right? Because we wanted to do something that was, you know, more fun. So I think, you know, incorporating different hobbies and then having him come and share them with us and share them with the support group that we have every month. I think that was also a good outcome.
Great. Yeah, really cool. Thank you for sharing all of those insights.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, everyone. So thank you to our presenters, to our audience members. We really appreciate you being here for this brag and steal. As Anne mentioned at the top of the hour, we will be sending out a request for people to submit any items that they think could be included in a holiday guide. So please, if you know of anything, any items made by people with aphasia or items that support centers or our community of people with aphasia, please look out for that, because we'll be getting that guide together and sending out as our resource of the month. So Thanks again to everyone, and I hope you have a great afternoon or night, whatever time zone you're in, morning, night, afternoon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.